Welcome to the Miracle You, guiding you on the journey towards finding passion and purpose and how to discover, create, and live a life by your design. Whether your success has been plentiful or your missed opportunities have been overwhelming, we can help you become a more empowered, masterful person and show you how to share your gift with the world. It's time to inspire change from within with the host of the Miracle You, Vince Kramer.
Hello, imagination. I'm Vince Kramer, your host, and welcome to the Miracle You, where you learn about the magic of living your life by finding the example in real life. We've talked many times about living in the present moment and how important it is to understand that in the moment is where life happens. And in each one of those moments, we're going to talk today about really your free choice. And that free choice comes down to two choices. You either move in an upward direction and support yourself in moving towards what you want in life, bringing what you want to happen in your life into reality, or you move in a downward direction and you're moving further away from what you want. It's really in making that free choice decision that you can empower yourself. And it comes down to just two choices. So today's speaker is going to share with you the power in those two choices and how he's learned through his life to rely on those two choices and make the decisions that empower him. I'm with Rico Racosky. Rico was born and raised in a small western Pennsylvania coal mining and steel town in a coal mining family. With school a challenge and having lots of self-doubt and lacking a clear direction, his passion to live his dreams of flying led him to uncover the simple process for crystal clear thinking of just two choices and to write 3 books for kids on positive choice. Rico's flying covers F-16 fighters, jet airliners, seaplanes, and gliders. And he's a best-selling author, speaker, and radio host. He holds a bachelor's degree from the U.S. Air Force Academy and a master's from the University of Southern California. Rico Racosky, are you ready for the miracle of you with the imagination?
Vince Kramer, I am ready. Let's do it.
It's so to get to talk to a military pilot and an airline pilot. I just retired from United Airlines after 26 years, and I can tell you it's been a month and a half, and I already miss flying so much that I wish I wouldn't have done it. So it's so exciting to get a chance to talk to you. You know, Rico, there's not much I shared in your bio. Could you tell us a little bit more about you and what you're doing in the world besides your flying?
Well, you know, actually, Vince, my flying and the work that I'm doing in the world has been a balance of flying and days off, as you can appreciate from an airline schedule in particular. You know, you go out and you fly and you have fun, love flying and passengers and, you know, all those challenges that go with it. And on my days off, I'm writing, you know, I've been writing books on positive choice for kids, which is why I got out of the military to begin with. I left the military after about 11 years active duty because I had this idea of being able to help kids make positive choices, because probably like in your background too, there weren't a lot of opportunities necessarily right up and open to you. And from a small coal mining town, there weren't. And I just had to get out there and scrap. And I'm blessed that it worked out. And I thought, well, maybe there's a lot of other kids who have that challenge like I did too. And I thought I could help them by putting these ideas out into books. So my days off were my passion for, you know, you go and you're technical for 3 or 4 days flying, you know, just doing that flying, figure stuff out kind of stuff with weather and, you know, and systems and all that stuff. And then the other stuff is just raw creativity of how can I help inspire kids? And so it's kind of the ultimate back and forth deal. And last thing I'll say is that the series of books are all based on a formula called dreams plus action equals reality. And the just two choices idea that we're talking about today evolved from that dreams plus action equals reality formula. I work primarily with elementary school kids, 4th and 5th graders who just are on fire for living their dreams.
Oh, sounds so awesome, and it's so needed in our world today to reach out to the kids. There's really not a lot of role models out there anymore in understanding that you put action into your dreams, and the next thing you know, you're creating exactly what you want in life. So that's pretty powerful. Let me ask you this: what what wake up call, if you will, in your life really got you to make a choice in moving forward in your life? It might be your flying world, and it might be helping kids, but was there a wake up call in there that really got your attention?
Well, yeah, I would say it was a delayed wake up call. And what I mean by that is that I was one of those back of the room kind of guys in high school. I wasn't, and so if you'll recall, perhaps I don't know if they still how much they do it today, but they have award ceremonies and for sports and for academics and stuff like that during the different terms. And I was a back of the room kind of guy, back of the auditorium, sitting in the bleacher seats kind of guy. And I used to always, there was no jealousy whatsoever. It was like, wow, I'm working my tail off to get the grades I'm getting, playing sports and all the other stuff. I'm going like, they make it look so easy. They're walking across. And again, it's not jealous whatsoever. It's like, what is it that they know that I don't know, about how to make life work? Really, that's what it boiled down to. And so the answer actually came to me to that question. The answer to that question after I was flying finally, in the Air Force, I was like, the answer actually turned out to be that dreams plus action equals reality formula. Long story to that too. But my point, how that one came about, that was divine intervention as well. But my point just being, I went, oh, that explains what I was asking when I was 17 years old in high school. To have a dream, the kind of quality of the action you take creates what's real. And it's amazing. The elementary school kids, they understand the word reality. Dreams plus action equals reality. And fast forward to these days, I mean, over the years of probably almost 15 years of teaching that dreams plus action equals reality, I kept saying to the kids, kids are just two choices of action. One's going to take you closer to, and one's going to take you further away. And then after saying that a couple thousand times, it was like, oh, hey, wait a minute. There's an idea for adults, just two choices. So that's kind of that was kind of, I would say, my wake up call. It started really early, but then I matched it up later, through the success of aviation.
One of the things that we were sharing in the green room, if you will, before we got started here recording, was the fact that there was little setbacks along the way for you in this pursuit. What drove you, if you will, to moving beyond those setbacks? And I'll share a couple with the audience here. One, the Air Force wasn't looking for pilots at the time that you were ready to go to pilot training. Another was being turned down for the Air Force Academy at first. What took you beyond those setbacks?
The first one, let's say the getting turned down for the Air Force Academy, and that was crushing. I knew my academics weren't quite up there, but it's a whole person concept, like is how the military operates in general. And so I got a couple extra points for for the extra things that I was involved in sports and outside of academics. So that and Boy Scouts and Eagle Scout and that kind of stuff like that. And so when I got turned down, I was crushed. But there's, again, I have to say, it's like with you, there's probably some divine part of something, some intuition within yourself. There was a postcard that you had to fill out. Well, you didn't have to. It just said, since you got turned down, would you consider having have your name put in the ring for possibly going to the Academy of Prep School? Now, you're going to have to enlist to do that. You're going to have to enlist in the Air Force Reserves to do it. But yes or no, check yes or no, just two choices. So I checked yes. And I don't remember if I sent it in or if maybe my mom sent it in. I don't know what happened. But, at the last, very, very, very last minute, I kid you not, I was working at a Boy Scout camp up in the mountains and for 6 weeks straight. And I see my mom walking across the field. She never came up to visit. You just got off the mountain to do your laundry from time to time. And I said, oh man, maybe somebody died in the family. I said, Mom, what's up? She goes, if you want to go to the Air Force Academy prep school, we have to be in Pittsburgh, which is almost a 2.5 hour drive. We got to be in Pittsburgh for you to enlist. I'm like, what's that mean? To enlist. And since the scout camp was partially on its way to Pittsburgh, she says, we got to leave in the car now, because it was after lunch. they, you know, as they close at 4:30. So I said, well, let me talk to the director. And I said, sure. I mean, it was just one of those things. She said, I got your clothes in the car. If you don't want to go, that's okay. You don't have to go. You know, and that's one of the challenges with my parents. They always let me make my own choices. And sometimes it really got under my skin because that's your choice. And I went, okay, let's go.
Thank God there was just two choices, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And there wasn't anything thrown in the middle of those two choices, you know, like a high school girlfriend kind of thing, you know, like, oh, I wonder what she's going to say. You know, it was just, well, sure, let's go. And so, you know, that in and of itself is how quickly it happened, because I had already made, since I had gotten turned down like in April or so of high school senior year, I'd already made up my mind I was going to art school, which was the two things I loved, art and aviation. So I was just already set for being a graphic design guy, you know, artist. I know you have your specialty. I think it's in computers and software or something. And, you know, and I was going to go and be art and live happily ever after, I guess. But, but the point I'm making is, if you don't say yes to things, you don't put your hat, you know, you don't put your name in the game, you don't have an opportunity for somebody to tell you no, you know, or somebody to tell you yes. You know, you end up, and that's the other thing I'll just say, finishing up with my dad was always somebody who said, you know, you can always come back here. We're always going to love you. You can always come back here and work in the mines or work in the steel mills or whatever. But, you know, go for it, you know. And that was about the limit of encouragement I got. But, you know, there wasn't resistance to it, you know, so.
And sometimes it just takes just a little bit of encouragement to get you moving in that direction. So now you're flying airplanes, you're pulling 7Gs, you're going faster than the speed of sound. You know, life is real exciting. You're kind of kicked, I think you said earlier, into your technical brain, into that analytical world, and obviously something was calling, your creativity was calling to you. Could you tell us a little bit about?
When I was flying, right after I got out of pilot training, you understand this language, you know, with your Air Force stuff. I was FAR'd, you know, as fighter, you know, I was FAR'd for fighters. But my background was in aircraft maintenance in C-141s and C-130s. And so at the time, the C-17 was supposed to hit the line. And so I was thinking Air Force career promotion. And you know how this all lines up. You're going like, yeah, I really want to fly fighters, you know, more than heavies, but I could be initial cadre. This is the language they use in the military. I could be, you get the buzzwords. I could be initial cadre C-17 because I got aircraft maintenance experience in tactical airlift in a C-130 and strategic airlift in C-141. So if I go fly strategic airlift, the C-17 is going to be both tactical and strategic. You know, it's like, I'm thinking promotion opportunity, you know. So I chose, and they, you know, I chose a C-141 back to McCord, you know, is kind of how that, you know, how that opened up. And so what I'm leading to is that as a result of that assignment in 141s, I was talking to a lady one day whose dad had been in the military. He'd been in the weather service in the military, 06, and colonel. I was telling her about this idea I had for this Dreams Plus Action Equals Reality book that I was working on. She said, oh, will you come? Yeah, well, actually, I didn't. It was called Life Skills. It was the draft name of it. And so this is how I'm on active duty. I get this idea for this book to help kids. I'm calling it Life Skills 101. And she says, will you come in and talk to my shop kids, of all things, you know, they're trades kids, and talk to them about dreams and goals in aviation. I said, never done that before? Sure. So I went in there, and I had so many questions about how to make dreams come true or goals come true. I actually walked up to the dry erase board and I wrote, look, it's not that tough. And it just came off the top of my head. I went, you got a dream. I wrote the word dream. You got dreams. And then I said, you take action horizontally. You take action. And that's what becomes real. You know, that's reality. And I remember turning to my left and looking at it and going, huh. I put a plus sign between the word dreams and action. I put an equal sign between action and reality. And I go, oh, that explains back when I was 17 years old in high school what I was looking for. Dreams plus action equals reality. So that's where that got started. And then from there, it's like another military thing. For those of you who are military, you know, if you're categorized in heavies or fighters, you usually can't switch. So I couldn't active duty switch. And I said, you know, maybe I should get out of the service and write books, but I'd like to make my other dream come true, flying fighters. And so I started putting in applications to the Guard to as many different guard units, say 7 units at the time, because I knew they were converting to 16s anyway. From my job that I was at, I was able to look at some of the, and this from the military, you're able to look ahead, looking at some of the records and stuff, and you're like, wow, this would be a dream come true if I could do this. So I decided to get out, and I was fortunate to be able to work with several different guard units, and having, they made an offer, said, sure, come fly for us in Michigan. And then we converted F-16s.
Excellent. The interesting thing is, and I've shared this with a lot of people, but I would love to get your perspective and share it from somebody else's side, because they've only heard my side of this. I call myself blessed and cursed, because I had 2 passions in life. One of them is teaching and helping people find themselves, and then the other was flying airplanes. And at times they kind of got in the way of each other. So I can tell by the way you talk about flying and the look on your face. Everybody doesn't get to see it, but you can tell you love your flying. How was that for you, having those 2 passions? And yes, we were blessed in the airline world, having a lot of time off, but how did you deal with having 2 passions, and how do you, let's just say, manage your time and manage your life to live them?
You're probably one of the few people who could ask that kind of question, and I appreciate it. It's great, because one of the things that I'd have liked to have done, I'd have liked to have been, a check airman, and I didn't pursue that because as much as they say, oh yeah, you're scheduled for stuff, from your friends who are check airmen, it's always going to be that last minute phone call, right before dinner, and Vince Kramer's passing through Denver. He's going to go non-current on his check ride if you don't nail him now, on the lake to Chicago, and so you know how that works. Mm-hmm. And they say this is the last time we'll do this, but it's not, And then the other part I'd like to have seen what it was like, perhaps, to have been in the office and maybe worked a little bit, in the office, and got to know, the Southwest as a company from from that side, rather than the cubicle, our mobile cubicle that we fly in from place to place. Now, the nice thing about the mobile cubicle is that when you're in the cockpit, is that there really aren't any politics, especially as a captain. It is what it is, and when you go home, you leave your work at the gate, and you get to go home and you're free and clear. Unlike if you were working in the office in the airlines, or a check airman, or in the military, the commander would have you do something. Flying's a secondary job, even though they tell you it's your primary. And so the point I'm making is those were the trade-offs. I'd like to have seen what it's like to do that. Maybe I could have made it work, but between that and family and aging parents, I just, my passion is what we're talking about today too. And I just felt that I would be watering it down. I'd be delaying it. Those were the trade-offs.
I'll tell you, I did it. I did all of that, and it works towards killing you is what it does. Because you want that you honor both passions so much that I work 95-hour weeks sometimes, and working towards putting Imagine Miracles together and doing an office job, and even the check airman world. So,
congratulations!
You didn't miss much.
Nobody's ever asked me if I was a check airman. It's So I mean, but within yourself, there's that, that personal career professionalism that it makes you think about it. I think I'll just add, I think now, I never thought of it at the time, but I did. I thought, no, I wouldn't do it. But, now you think about, maybe I should have applied to be an astronaut, just put my name in just to see what would happen. Yeah. Why not? But I didn't, and you go, why didn't I do that? Not that I would have made it, but.
So you said, Rico, that you're working mostly with 4th and 5th graders. Is your book series for that reading level also?
That's what led to Just Two Choices. And so I'm not working as much with elementary school kids now. I'm actually starting to move into the corporate side of using Just Two Choices to help businesses see, with this visual diagram that I showed you earlier, with this diagram here, that, you're either making a choice that's going to take you in the upward trajectory toward what you really want to accomplish, or you're going to make a choice that's going to take you further away, which, is just a visual way of an attitude indicator. And this is an attitude indicator. Where are you spending most of your time talking about, if you taking your hand and giving it an upward trajectory, with your arm and hand, where are you spending your time? So I'm showing businesses how to help their employees realize that the fate of their businesses rests solely on the consistency of the choices that they make all day, every day. And of course, we know that in aviation be very poignant, because in aviation, the consistency of the quality actions has everything to do with safety. The ultimate safety, whether it's weather or it's speed, it's overspeed or underspeed or stalls, or, any of the stuff that can happen in an airplane when your attention goes from being fully there to your attention goes somewhere else to distraction, has consequences that you're living with moment to moment. And that's really, I think, so I'm trying to share that just two choices idea from aviation and performance with the visual diagram that I just showed you, which will be a download for people later on. But I'll say so. So now I'm moving more into the business side of things, corporate
Excellent.
side.
I think you'll find, and this is for the imagination, I think you'll find that the microcosm and the macrocosm, it all works out. It's all directed the same way. And sometimes we can learn from looking at the microcosm how the macrocosm should work. And sometimes we look at the microcosm and understand how the microcosm works. Let me ask you this, because I know that some people in the audience are probably asking this question. It's two choices. I either move in the positive direction, supporting myself, or in the negative direction, which is not supporting myself. But what if I have a bunch of choices on deciding on what I really want to do, or the direction I really want to go? So I can't move in the direction because I don't know what that direction is. Tell them.
My approach to that is that you're either telling and I have several of these recommendations, these different types of tools that I use for myself too. Radio interviews in general. I'm also known as the news story guy. So so I'll say there's a thing called, the phrase is just, the word just is really important for people who are listening in the two choices phrase, because just clarifies that we are always living in a binary thinking kind of situation. As a computer guy, you can appreciate that. It's always a 0-1. There's never a 0 and 1. It's always a 0 and 1, 0 or 1 in a sequence. And so life is very much that. So my point being, no matter what's going on in our lives, whether it's health, wealth, relationships, finances, family, aviation, you're either telling your new story in every moment, or you're telling your old story. And so so sometimes people they go, well, I have a phrase, I say, you're only stuck once. And they say, well, what do you mean by you're only stuck once? I said, because the moment you say you're stuck, there's an awareness that you're stuck. So why would you choose to be stuck twice, right? When you know you're stuck and you know that there are just two choices in every moment, why wouldn't you choose to say, I'm choosing a new story. I'm choosing to be unstuck. I'm choosing that I have no idea what that next choice is going to be. However, intuitively, I know that if I make a choice that's similar to the ones I've been making, a week from now, I'm still going to be in that same place. And so that's how just two choices works. And if I can add one other thing, Vince, a lot of times people say, well, there are so many choices out there. There are a lot more than two choices, or I don't have any choices. So the first example is dessert. You go to a restaurant and what's the first thing they do is they ask you, they bring the dessert menu over with 30 things on it. And they say, do you want dessert, or would you like dessert? And just two choices, right? You say yes or no, right? So you say yes, you look at the menu, and immediately the mind, it immediately processes everything in lightning speed. And for me, everybody's different. Somebody might have some other health issues, or diabetic, or, something they really don't like. Mine goes full tilt to maximum sweet and not sweet enough. And I just clear off out of 30 things, I clear it down to like 6, and then you go just two choices. It usually ends up the hot fudge sundae or coconut cream pie or something like that. But, it's a just two choices process. So there's an idea of, well, gee, there's 30 things. How could I possibly ever choose? It's the same process. It's just two choices. The mind categorizes things quickly. The opposite, I'll use this. The opposite is I have no choices. Let's take Sully. Until Sully landed on the Hudson, I'll tell you what, I never thought about landing on a river. I mean, and millions of pilots around the world, other than the float guys and the guys up in Alaska, probably never thought about, especially airline pilots, never thought about landing on the water. Of course, unless you're flying international, but that really doesn't cover your mind either, you know. And Solly probably, as you know, as pilots going through it, you probably went, piece of concrete, nope, yes or no. You know, and then he went, open field, yes or no, no. You know, and I'm losing altitude. I got to keep my airspeed. I can't stall. Highway, no, too much traffic. Look, a river, yes or no? Yes. You know, it's the same thing. It's just two choices process. But it looked like he didn't have any. It looked like he had no choices, but he did have choices, but he had to work it through. I don't know if that inspires any thoughts on your part in terms of how you asked the question, but.
Oh, I think it's narrowing it down to each, let's say, decision that you have in the moment. You have two choices, and the next moment you may have two more, but it's just breaking it down to those two choices. So that was an excellent way of describing it and explaining it. So thank you very much. Let me ask you this. You know, we're kind of getting a little close on our time here. You made a choice of moving towards the corporate. So what's your choices now as you move into corporate? Where are you going with this?
I would like to help, because of my background at Southwest and customer service and those kinds of things too. I mean, you know that as a pilot as well. You know, I would like to show businesses, one of the directions is extraordinary customer service. There are just two choices. I mean, the simple explanation is that if you're not having extraordinary customer service, then you're not making extraordinary choices. You're not doing what it takes to make it extraordinary. I mean, you know that as an evaluator. You know, if you're not an exceptional, you know, if you want to be an exceptional pilot, you got to make an exceptional commitment. Choose to make exceptional choices all the time, consistently. If you want to be a mediocre pilot, still very, very safe, but you know, you know, you're very safe, but at the same time, you don't want to be that Top Gun kind of situation, then you're going to make those kind of choices too. So I'd like to introduce that to the corporate world, not only in that, but also in terms of safety, because I was just talking to a company a few weeks ago, they lost a $400,000 contract because they had a tech rep, he got behind and he tagged something as serviceable that wasn't serviceable, and he sent it back. And they needed that equipment. They went to use that equipment, and it was still broken. They canceled the contract. But if they'd have known about just two choices, if he'd have been aware, hey, look, I got just two choices. The company wants me to do this. Even though it's behind, I got to tell the company, look, I'm sorry, it's going to be another extra week. We're late. But it's going to be serviceable as opposed to non-serviceable. That one just two choices moment cost the company $400,000 and part of the reputation. So those are some of the things I'd like to show, you know, how poignant just two choices and how real it is in our lives every single day.
What size companies do you want to work with, Rico?
Well, right now, I think I would work with smaller companies, somewhere in the range of, you know, that what they typically, when I'm learning all this, Vince, I don't know all this stuff, you know, but this is what I'm told, you know, somewhere in the, you know, up to the $15 million range, you know, with, you know, the small size companies at first. And, you know, and just like this was a smaller company that it's like an $11 million, $12 million business. And in this repair, you know, kind of thing. And get started there.
Excellent.
And then, but in addition to that, then also work on my presentation for, if somebody does want me to come in and speak corporate wise, I'll be happy to talk corporate wise too. So,
excellent. What piece of guidance would you like to leave the audience with?
Well, you know, if you're listening and you have a pen and paper, there are three phrases that I use all the time for myself, whether I'm no matter what, you know, in terms of feeling overwhelmed or frustrated, you know, those kinds of things. Or going back to your question of what do I do now? I think from the earlier question, somebody's kind of confused and what do I do now? And the first phrase that I would recommend is this is for building your awareness of choice, is to start saying consistently, I choose to, you know, I choose to put this, you have a headset on right now. I choose to put this headset on to do this interview. You know, I choose to pick up my coffee cup. You know, I choose to take a drink. I choose to wear this blue shirt. And you get tired of it after about 5 minutes. But the point is your awareness that everything is choice is going to be right up there, because the tendency is in our language, in English, in language in general, we don't use the word choice because choice is the fabric of every sentence. And so we'd overuse it. I mean, you can imagine, I choose to be or I choose not to be. That sounds pretty ridiculous, and I'm not a playwright, but I think that wouldn't work very well. And so I choose to, but if you start by saying, I choose to do something, now you own it. I choose to be frustrated. I choose to be overwhelmed. No, I don't choose to be overwhelmed. Okay, I'll make another choice. You see, it brings it right. It's like it brings it right to you. The second thing is I think this is really, really important. You can say, I choose to tell my new story. So if you're frustrated, I choose to tell my new story that I'm going to find a way to bring myself out of this frustration. I choose to tell a new story that I know I can find a solution. I always have found a solution to my financial problems or, this relationship issue. Because now you're focused on that other direction. So I choose to tell a new story, because you can't get a new story from an old story. It just doesn't work that way. And the last one is the bucket of cold water, I call it. It's just say just two choices. And I do that a lot for myself. I kind of throw the cold water on me and I go, all right, Rico, just two choices. You know how this works. Make that new and better choice. Tell that new story. So those three phrases would be the guidance that's what I revolve around, my day around. And I have to catch myself and I laugh.
Some very powerful stuff that you shared there, for sure. We love to tell the old story, for sure.
Yeah.
If I could get people just to shift out of that part of it, it would be amazing for the entire world. The other thing, what I really liked was that first statement, I choose to. You realize that you're not the victim. So many of us feel that we are when we notice that we're choosing everything in our life. And truly, we do have that free choice.
In addition to what you said there, we tend to choose to go into like a little bit of self-pity. Victim, it's kind of a self-pity, kind of a I'm feeling sorry for myself kind of thing. And more, sometimes it'll be victim, but sometimes it's more just feeling self-pity, like just two choices.
In many ways, we've been taught by example how to flow right into that self-pity spot, for sure. It has been amazing talking to you. I really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for sharing what you're doing in the world and for what you're bringing to all age groups, just in the understanding of just two choices.
Well, thank you for what you're doing with, I love your, the Miracle You idea is fabulous. And, keep taking it upward in an upward vector, as we say.
There we go. Well, Rico, it's amazing that you're going to share so much information with everybody. For those of you who are interested in learning more about Rico, just go to justtwochoices, all one word, .com. That's justtwochoices.com. And he's going to give you a couple free diagrams to help you put up on your wall, on your refrigerator, on your desk at work, to help remind you to take those two choices and make a choice that empowers you. So if you go to justtwochoices.com/radio, you can get those two diagrams to download, print out, and put wherever you'd like them to remind you to make your choices. And also the first chapter of his book. So once again, justtwochoices.com/radio to get the freebies from Rico. On behalf of my wife, Mary, my business partner, and the entire Imagine Miracles team, we want to wish each and every one of you a miracle day.
You've completed this episode of The Miracle You, but we have plenty more to help you discover your own personal passion and purpose. Head over to themiracleyou.com for free resources to assist you on your journey, as well as register for our free webinar, Discover Your Miracle Life, 3 Mind Awakening Steps Toward Your Unique Purpose, or apply for a one-on-one Your Life, Your Way breakthrough session and discover your next best step on your journey. All available exclusively on our website. That's themiracleyou.com. We look forward to sharing more experiences of passion, purpose, and life by design next time, right here on The Miracle You.